Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is my June 2022 page 112 tag. The page 112 tag was started by Sean at Sean the Book Maniac. He based it off of a French literary prize where they judged the books in contention for the long list of the prize solely by reading page 112. So these, I think, were novel-length books. In fact, they were, I think, fiction completely. But anyway, page 112 would then be somewhere in the middle of the book, past some of the more polished beginning pages meant to, snare editors, maybe a little rougher, and especially what it did was mean that there was no context for the beginning of the story, and you only could judge the book based on the quality of the writing on that page. I have been utilizing this tag since the beginning of COVID to tackle my unread physical bookshelves. I have this handy-dandy Books and Cats mug that is filled with pieces of paper which hold the names of titles of books I have procured in 2021 or before. I pick 3 of these out of the cup at random, and then I go ahead and I read page 112 of each of the books, I discuss them here with you, and then I add one of those books to my month's TBR. This is always one of my favorite videos to do of the month. I think it's so fun and surprising. You never know what you're going to get, so without further ado, let's go ahead and pick our 3 books, starting with book number 1. So I'm just trying to, put my hand in here at random and pick out one piece of paper and just one. Okay, here we go. Oh, Open Your Gifts by Kim Coles. This is, I think, one of the oldest books I have on in this cup, which is exciting enough on its own, but it is very unusual. It is a book of essays that I got a few years back because a close friend of mine was in fact published in the book, and so I do feel a little bit of extra incentive, I guess, to finally read this because she is in it. We shall see. All right, and now I am going for book number 2. Let me try to dig in maybe somewhere new. We shall see. All right. The Futures by Anna Petoniak. I believe this is a book that, in fact, I have read in earlier page 112 tags. So that's exciting in and of itself because that means I would have less post-production work to do this month. Huzzah! This is different in terms of genre as well because it is a literary fiction book, a book I believe I got a few years back at my used library bookstore. And finally, book number 3. I already have a surprising amount of diversity, I think, in terms of the genre and where I got it from. So we'll see, and also one that I've done on this tag before and one I haven't done for this tag before, so all sorts of excitement. Anyway, stop talking and we'll see what the final book will bring. All right. Beneath a Scarlet Sky by Mark Sullivan. This is a little bit more of the same in a way because it is a literary fiction book, or I guess more of a historical fiction book that I have read on this tag for this tag before, so huzzah, less post-production for me. But I got it a couple of years ago, I think, on my birthday. My parents gave it to me because they loved it. It's World War II history, and they thought I would love it as well. Okay, you've seen me pick out these 3 books. I will go off to read the pages myself, then come back to you with my thoughts. So, see you soon. Okay, I'm back and ready to talk page 112, starting with book number 1, Open Your Gifts by Kim Coles, or technically edited by Kim Coles. Anyway. In fact, this is a book of essays, and it feels very different from my usual for what I do for this tag. And one of the things I will do differently is I'm reading from page 110, because page 110 is a complete page, and page 112 is half a page. And then, there's a new essay right at the next page. So I thought for, the means of the tag, which is supposed to sort of be in the middle of the action, page 112 would do better. Okay, enough preamble. The last straw for my mom came when I was 19. He punched a hole in the wall and threatened to kill my sister. I will never forget sitting at the dining room table all night with my mother as she held a knife in her hand, promising to take him out if he touched my sister. "No one is ever going to beat my ass again or touch my children," she said in a low growl. The next morning she told him to leave. Just like that, he was gone out of our lives. The trauma remained. We crouched past the windows of our apartment, afraid he might be outside with the rifle. We walked to the bus stop in pairs and looked around every corner. So, as I lay awake with the memories swirling around in my mind, I decided to confront him. His lies were too much for me to handle. It was time for him to own his stuff. I was going to see to it. I rehearsed what I was going to say and do. I was going to ask him why he beat my mother and then wait for him to lie so that I could cite dates and times. I was going to remind him of the Christmas he pushed her to the floor, the time he threatened her life if she attended my fashion show, or the day she stabbed him in the face with her nail file to stop him from beating her. I disregarded the fact that I'd asked God to help me. The more I continued plotting his demise, the more God was gently convicting my heart. I knew it, but I was determined to hurt my stepfather for the way he had hurt us, for the way he had hurt my mom. I knew I wasn't okay with God. So yeah, I think this gives a sense of what most of these essays are about. They are about trying experiences in people's lives, and ultimately I think the optimistic message is that you take out of them, because you take gifts out of them, although gifts is an acronym in this. I think the essays are supposed to adhere to life lessons that start with these letters, but that they come together for gifts, which is ultimately uplifting. And so in this page, of course, we are at a very low section for this essayist, that she's talking about abuse that her family has suffered for a long time, and that they were able to kick her stepfather out, but it's uncertain if he could come back, and also what to do with the trauma. That's the major thrust of this page. The page is about what to do with the trauma, and it seems like she's on two paths. She could go enlightened path, it seems. Things are a little murkier about what that means. But the other path, of course, is vengeance. And that's what she seems to be ruminating upon. But there's this promise in the page that, she might move beyond that and choose something differently, because she feels like, God would not like what she's doing. So it's an interesting page because it has depth to it as well. Obviously the page is resting on its own, because it's about this horrible situation that anyone would struggle with if they had to face this sort of awful reality. But then there's this promise that, it's not just about, victimization or good and evil. It's also about, this inner strength and this inner conflict. So yeah, I am intrigued. Book number 2 is The Futures by Anna Petoniak. I'm fine. It's just, I don't know. Ugh. What is it? I don't know. You can tell me. God, Adam, I snapped. This sucks. I'm all by myself, completely alone, everywhere I go. He reached for my hand. Don't say that. You have me. I'm right here. I don't have you, though. I have this lousy boyfriend who doesn't give two shits about me because he's too busy with this fucking lumber deal. Maybe it'll be over soon, Adam said carefully. It wasn't the first time I had complained about Evan's devotion to his work. It can't last forever. I mean, Jesus, the way he talks about it. It's like the universe revolves around this fucking middle-of-nowhere Canadian lumber company, Pacific West Corp. It's so important. They're going to make so much money off of it. They're going to be rich and famous. I can't remember the last time he even asked me how my day was, how work was. None of it. He's an asshole. He doesn't think about anyone but himself. I was ranting, but I couldn't help myself. Abby and Jake, Henry and Eleanor, I couldn't complain about any of them, so my anger funneled toward Evan instead. Westcorp Timber is going to make the Spire more money than any deal on Wall Street. I imitated Evan's voice in a snide tone. People's heads are going to turn. Him and Michael Casey at the top of their fucking world. Fuck all of it. The lights of Manhattan glittered up ahead. We were zooming across the bridge, the East River rippling below us like black velvet. It's disgusting, I added. The torrent wouldn't stop. It's so fucking arrogant. He's saying this trade is foolproof. It's like they didn't even notice what's been happening, how fucked up everything is, how screwed up the rest of us are. I guess you could tell I enjoyed this one too. I got into the rant a bit. I think I have an inner potty mouth that liked, some of that dialogue, although I was remembering I have my own character in my novella who says fuck a lot, and the people in my writing group kept on telling me to scale it back, and woo! There was a lot just in that one page, more than I have in most of my pages anymore. But anyway, anything with that much anger and frustration and resentment is just, compelling drama to read. It was primarily dialogue, but when it did come to some narrative scene setting, I liked how they talked about racing over the river. I really did like that. It was a little confusing at first. I assumed at first that the man she was talking to her was her boyfriend, but I probably would have known better if I'd read the previous pages, and she quickly, explained that away within this page. So I really, I like this, I'm a fan of drama. I believe this is about a couple trying to make it in New York, and so we can see, some of the schisms between them, that, she's feeling isolated and alone, and he's putting himself into his work. Although, interestingly enough, there seems to be a hint in here that other things are bothering her as well, but she can't talk about those things, I guess, with the guy she's talking to, and so she's kind of, heaping too much on her boyfriend instead. So that is intriguing as well. So, again, there's a lot in this. And book number 3 is Beneath a Scarlet Sky by Mark Sullivan. Pino thought about the massacre in Mena, when the Nazis machine-gunned the Jews in the lake. He felt sick and helpless. Your husband, he must have been a brave man. Mrs. Napolitano wept and nodded. Beyond brave. After she regained her composure, she dabbed a handkerchief to her eyes and in a hoarse voice said, Father Ray said you two will take me to Switzerland. Yes, but with this snow it won't be easy. Nothing in life worth doing is easy, the violinist said. Pino looked down at her shoes, low black pumps. Did you climb up here in those? I wrapped them in pieces of a baby blanket. I still have them. They won't work, Pino said. Not where we're going. It's all I have, she said. We'll find you boots among the boys. What size are you? Mrs. Napolitano told him. By afternoon, Mimo had found a pair and rubbed the leather with a mixture of pine tar and oil to make the boots waterproof. He'd also gotten her wool pants to wear beneath her dress, and an overcoat, and a wool hat and mittens. Here, Father Ray said, handing out white pillow sacks with holes cut out for shoulders and heads. Wear these. Why? Mrs. Napolitano asked. The way you're going is exposed in several places. Someone from far down on the valley floor might see your dark clothes, but with these you'll blend into the snow. Accompanying Mrs. Napolitano was the D'Angelo family, Peter and Liza, the parents, and 7-year-old Anthony and his 9-year-old sister Judith. From Abruzzi, they were physically fit from a lifetime of farming and climbing in the mountains south of Rome. Mrs. Napolitano, however, had spent much of her life indoors and sitting down playing the violin. She said she walked everywhere in Milan, rarely taking the trolley, but Pino could tell from her breathing at Casa Alpina that the climb was going to be an ordeal for her and for him. Well, that was arresting stuff. I'm remembering now that I knew from what my parents said that the book took place in Rome, and I believe the main character is someone who starts working for the resistance. Surely in this scene, the main character, this Pino character anyway, is working to smuggle people out of occupied Italy, because it is dangerous in World War II, especially for Jews and other undesirables. It seems from that passage that Mrs. Napolitano's husband could have been Jewish, or at least Pino was connecting him to murdered Jews. This is the sort of scene I think that you don't need to have a lot of work done to it really to be compelling, because it's a survival story. So most people, at least, on an external level, would, have some adrenaline invested in, oh, so are they going to survive? Are they going to make it? You know, this particular page asks certain survival questions that we might have, like, you know, what do we do about inclement weather, and the types of shoes to wear, and the ways to blend in when, you know, you have to sneak out of a country, and how different types of people will do on the terrain. Mrs. Napolitano seems to be an indoorsy person, and they're assuming it's going to be a bit of a struggle, but the other family they're with is more outdoorsy. So yeah, I mean, externally speaking, you don't have to do a lot to make this compelling. I do think the writing does well enough. You know, it conveys the information, you know, in a straightforward manner. It also gives a little time for emotional beats, but obviously not too much because, you know, we're in a, you know, a hurry plot mode right here, right now. So yeah, this could be good stuff. Okay, so the first thing I will do is promise that indeed I have, you know, listened to these snippets that I filmed, you know, months or even years ago, you know, to get a sense both of those page 112s and also my thoughts about them at the time. I mean, I know I'm technically having kind of 3 different conversations with these 3 different books because I'm, you know, talking about them at 3 different times and trying to mesh them together now into one video. And justify the book that I will now pick to add to my June TBR. And the book I am going to pick is in fact the one I just read today, which is Open Your Gifts, edited by Kim Coles. And admittedly, I'm not entirely following my rules for the page 112 tag, which is to judge books based on the quality of the writing, even though I do think the writing on this page was compelling. The major reason I want to get to this is because my friend gave it to me. She signed it for me. I was at an event with her, you know, I think it was 2018 when this book was published, definitely well before COVID, where, you know, this was her major publication for her, and I want to support her and actually read her work. And so it's been sitting on my shelves for a long time, and I do feel like I owe it to her. And I will, in fact, be adding one of the other 2 books to a special page 112 tag I am doing in July because it is my birthday month, so I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently that month for the tag, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, I am going to be signing off for now, except that in this outro, as always for these videos, I like to highlight a readathon or a TBR game for BookTube because I like to feel that my page 112 tags are that sort of fun, spontaneous reading video that those other types of videos are. So I want to give love back to the community here. And the TBR game I want to highlight this month is from Kara's Bookshelf, and she has been doing TBR Tinder. She basically has a bunch of books on her physical unread shelves, I believe, and she puts them into sort of a random generator and picks several at random and then decides if she's going to swipe left or swipe right on them, like she's about to date them, you know, except instead it's a match for reading. And, you know, she has all these cool graphics up, like, you know, it looks like her phone is up there with the book coming in like a profile, and she even has a little quick summary and the Goodreads rating, so it does feel a lot like, I guess, those types of, you know, dating sites. I've never done Tinder myself, so I don't know. But the way that she reacts to her own books, whether or not she decides to read them, it's always like with so much joy and you know, enthusiasm, even though, you know, she has to know what she put on her random generator, right? These are her physical unread books, but, you know, she always reacts with this same exuberance, which is really fun to see. So anyway, I will link to her playlist down below. And I will also be linking to my own TBR Games playlist down below for the page 112 tag and for another TBR game I play quarterly, so fun times around. But now I have, you know, culminated my TBR list for June, and I have to start reading the books and reviewing them. So stay tuned because you'll be seeing me next on this channel for my first Am Reading Friday Reads, hopefully, video of the month. So huzzah! In the meantime, I hope you are also enjoying all of the books that you are choosing to read, however you choose to read them. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.